Perfect. Miss Miyamoto, your timing is excellent. Susan Miyamoto, ladies and gentlemen. You know, Susan, I don't think we thank you often enough for coordinating our Prelude music program. You know what? You took it over, about 5-6 years ago, something like that? Yeah, right around there from Miss Eve Craig, who did it before you, and we just really appreciate it. It helps set the tone for the evening. So again, thank you so much. Well, it's time to call this meeting of the Temecula City Council to order. We're going to start our council meeting. It's always good to start with an invocation. That will be by Rabbi Yonasan Abrams of Chabad, or should I say Chabad, of Temecula Valley, okay? And our flag salute, come on up, Rabbi. You know what? We're always so grateful to have a contingent of the Boy Scouts here at our meeting. Gentlemen, why don't you guys come up after the invocation and lead us in the flag salute, okay? Please stand.
Dear City Council members and citizens of the city, thank you so much for inviting me today to give an invocation, which an invocation is actually a prayer to God. Now, our founding fathers, in their wisdom, were very deliberate in making a separation of church and state, but they made it very clear that it's not a separation of God and state, which is why In God We Trust is on the dollar bill. A prayer is actually one of the most commonly misinterpreted words. In Hebrew, the word for prayer is tefillah. Now, prayer usually is, if you look in a dictionary, prayer means asking God for something. But in truth, the prayer, which comes from Hebrew, tefillah, actually means connection. And prayer is a way and a time to connect with God. The ultimate connection with God is by fulfilling the mission which He gave each one of us. Now, the Jewish people have 613 commandments, and all the nations of the world have 7. I've listed them every time that I come, and I'll do it again. The 7 commandments, which are: number 1, to believe in God; number 2, not to curse God; number 3, not to kill; number 4, not to steal; number 5, not to commit adultery; number 6, to treat animals nicely; and number 7, which is what the City Council stands for, upholding justice. To fulfill the 7 commandments that every one of us is commanded, there's a struggle. And it's a struggle of life, the struggle between good and bad, the struggle between right and wrong. And it actually stems from 2 souls that we have. Everybody has a good soul, and they have an animal soul. They have a godly soul and an animal soul. The true way to overcome the animal soul is what's called a method which is called the mind rules the heart. And the heart is the place of animalistic drive. The mind is the place of clarity. The mind is the place of knowing right from wrong. And I actually have a book over here which I would like to present to the City Council. I'll tell you about it in a second. This is a book, is the first Jewish book that was ever printed in Temecula, and it teaches this secret of how to gain control of the mind over the heart. And even though the book is very long, the concept is very simple, that everybody deep in their heart knows right from wrong, and I shouldn't say in their heart, in their mind knows right from wrong. And when there's a temptation that comes from the heart, all it takes is a matter of that clarity that comes from the mind to say, I'm going to do what's right. I'm not going to let my animal soul get the better of me. And this book, which the Tanya, it was written 200 years ago, but the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who sent Rabbi Horowitz, who hired me to take his place, which, by the way, he sends his regards. The Lubavitcher Rebbe in the 1970s wanted this book printed in every city in the world, because when holy books are printed, it transforms a city. So now you can say Temecula has been transformed, and we also transform Marietta also. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you. If you would please give the book to our city clerk, she'll make sure that we get it. And as mayor, I'll make sure everybody at least looks at it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Rabbi, does that conclude your prayer? Thank you, sir. Scouts, would you do us the honor? Whenever you're ready.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. You can be seated. What troop are you young men from?
911.
Excellent. Good to have you here tonight. Madam City Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Comachero.
Here tonight.
Councilmember Edwards. Here. Councilmember McCracken.
Here.
Councilmember Ron.
I'm here.
Mayor Nagar.
And the mayor is here. Good evening, everybody. This is the time in our meeting for presentations and proclamations, and we have 3 today. And I'm going to start off with one that I'm going to enjoy giving. Mr. Terry Gilmore, are you here, sir? I saw you earlier. Come on down. And I'm going to ask Mayor Pro Tem Edwards to join you at the podium so she can give you this while I read it to you.
Okay.
City of Temecula
She's
certificate.
probably the only person I'm taller than.
Did you want to say anything else before I begin to
No,
read?
no,
Okay,
no.
just want to.
Rest of you look
Should
appropriate.
we just break into a free-for-all, Terry?
I didn't know you were starting.
No, it's quite all right. No, I'm going to read this. It's very deserving, but it is good to see you in the council chambers. There's some, without getting personal, I know that you've had some health challenges lately, and we were all pulling for you and praying for you. And
Thank you.
You're as much a part of Temecula, long-term Temecula as many of us are, so it's a pleasure to see you tonight.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. City of Temecula, Certificate of Recognition, presented on behalf of the City Council and the citizens of the City of Temecula to Paradise Chevrolet Cadillac. Paradise Chevrolet Cadillac recently earned General Motors Dealer of the Year Award for the 2nd year in a row and the Business Elite Dealer of the Year Award for the 3rd year in a row. Paradise Chevrolet Cadillac is ranked number 2 in the country for dealer fleet sales and number 1 in small business sales in the Western region. The Dealer of the Year and Business Elite Dealer of the Year programs honor dealerships demonstrating exceptional performance, achieving General Motors' collective goal of earning customers for life. Dealerships must be top performers in sales and customer satisfaction and show commitment to retaining customers by using only genuine GM parts, participating in standards for excellence, maintaining essential brand elements, program requirements, and be in compliance with Chevrolet Business Elite Dealer standards. We are proud of Paradise Chevrolet Cadillac for earning these prestige awards, and we thank them for their commitment to excellence and for delivering high-quality automobiles and outstanding customer service to the community. What this doesn't say, okay, and I wish it did in some fashion, is all the philanthropy and all the kindness and caring and family orientation that Paradise Chevrolet has given to the community over the years, spearheaded by you, sir. Congratulations on your award.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
We were fortunate. What? Thank you. We were fortunate enough to come to Temecula within a year and a half of when the city became a city. And I think the benefit of that, in hindsight, was that we got to grow and we got to be able to contribute to the needs of the city as it was starting. The awards are incredible awards, especially the Business Elite. It's the first time in General Motors history that any dealers ever won that award 3 years in a row. So we're extremely proud. And on behalf of all of our employees, 220 of them, we thank you for this recognition. But I would be remiss if I didn't state that the core of what's got us to volume started with trying to provide a place that our employees would be very proud of. Being involved in the community is a way that it's their company, it's their involvement. So with employee satisfaction always comes customer satisfaction. And with customer satisfaction, obviously, always comes that customer for life. So we take it really seriously. Here we are in our 25th year. Our community committee looks at trying to make a difference every year in the community. And if we do anything in our business each day, the thing that we try to do is to always do the right thing. And as long as we don't put a dollar sign in front of it, it's amazing how you always do the right thing. So we couldn't have done what we've achieved without the community. We saw absolutely no turn down in 2007 and 2008. We didn't lay one person off, and I really truly believe it's because we had the support of the community and the consideration that we were given even during those times that some of our community members were experiencing. So on behalf of all of you that dedicate your life to being a volunteer, it is probably one of the most rewarding things that you'll, as I know all of you know, I was talking to Ron, 26 years on the Planning Commission. I think he needs a mental checkup. That is a long time. So once again, to each of you individually, thank you for taking the time to recognize us tonight. It goes a long way, and we feel that our partnership with the city hasn't diminished in one little bit. We're glad to be a part of the community. So thank you. Thank you all very much.
Terry, stay there for a second. Terry, stay there for a second. My colleague Jeff Comachero would like to say something.
Terry, thanks for everything. It's a very nice recognition here in our city council chambers, but it's really only half the story. And not everybody knows that, but we know that. And your lifetime involvement, at least for the life of the dealership, is one thing, but your lifetime commitment to the citizens around you is something else, you personally. And we could just as easily have written that same commendation for the life that you give. And I could list them all, but I wouldn't embarrass you. But I don't know them all, let me put it that way. But thanks for being a great citizen. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks for a great city. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Well, our next presentation will be given by the Riverside County District Attorney's Office regarding the Office of Young Justice Program. Do we have Michael Cabral here? Hi, gentlemen. Good to see you. And Sam Kalustian. Did I get that?
You did.
Awesome. Gentlemen, you have the mic.
Good evening. I'm Michael Cabral. I'm the Assistant District Attorney here at the Southwest Justice Center on behalf of District Attorney Mike Hestron and all the staff at Southwest Justice Center. We want to thank the council for their support of our Young Justice Program. I'm going to turn it over to Sam, who's the manager of the program, to tell you a little bit about what we do for the youth of our community here. Thank you.
Good evening, council members, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank Council Member Ron for the invitation, and I also want to extend a thanks to him for actively participating in our program. Councilmember Moran has been actually participating in the graduation ceremonies for the first two curriculums we installed as part of the program. The Young Justice Program is a volunteer program that was created by the men and women in our office, and they do this program basically on their own time. These are prosecutors from different disciplines in our office, as well as investigators, paralegals, and forensic technicians. And the idea is to basically go out and provide leadership, mentorship, and some introduction to children in the middle school aged to the criminal justice system and the operations of it. And it's in its infancy. We've only been in operation for about a year. We've installed 2 programs with our first partner, which was the Southwest Boys and Girls Club, and I'm sure Mayor Pro Tem Edwards is aware of that. And basically, the program is customizable to partners that are very similar to the Boys and Girls Club. And I'll explain basically what we do in the program here. Some of the partners that have assisted us just in the last 12 months, we've had about 40 to 45 kids participating and graduating from the program, and the kids in this program are middle school age kids, arguably some of the most fundamental years in their development and appreciation for where they're going to be when they're adults. And we've partnered with the Boys and Girls Club of Southwest County, CAL FIRE, California Highway Patrol, and they're listed here. And as part of this program, we've created a very interactive process between members of these agencies, members of our office, almost on a one-to-one ratio where we've mentored and interacted with the children. The curriculum includes, and I think Councilmember Ron's familiar with it to a degree, but I'll inform the rest of the members of the board. Basically, we do a crime simulation that's age appropriate, that involves decision-making, leadership, peer pressure. In our first fact pattern, we dealt with bullying in the classroom, and as part of that, we actually proceed through a criminal case, though in a fake sense, but in a criminal case from beginning to end, and we introduce people involved in the criminal justice system, first responders such as police, fire, paramedics, and obviously the different members of the judicial system as well as tours of our facility. We conduct a junior mock trial, which is quite astounding that we can get a group of kids to actually act as lawyers, witnesses, jurors in a matter of 2 hours. And it's because the people from our office spend their time interacting with the kids, teaching them the different roles, and it's quite entertaining to watch these young boys and girls act out in these areas. And we provided some photographs of some of these scenarios. This was our last fact pattern. We did it at the Temecula, or the Great Oak Clubhouse, where we simulated a burglary and peer pressure, where 2 or 3 kids went in and stole certain items from the store, and we created basically an act out. And then from that point on, we had first responders from CAL FIRE, San Bernardino Fire, show up and interact with the kids, talk about their careers and what they do on a day-to-day basis. We had members of the City of Temecula Police, as well as CHP, come out, and the kids were able to interact with all of these individuals and professionals from these fields, and then actually participate in some of the things they do on a day-to-day basis. Then the junior mock trial, where we actually have these kids participate in every phase of the trial, and again, our attorneys and our investigators and the volunteers in our program train the kids to actually put on a mock trial in front of a Superior Court judge. In the last year, we had Judge Dickerson, Judge Paul Dickerson, and this last curriculum we had Judge Judith Clark volunteer her time to do this. And it's been very entertaining. It's also been very educational for the kids. They got to see things they never really understood. They thought everything was life on television. So in essence, this is basically what our program is. We're creating the 3rd curriculum at this time, and we're looking to partner up again, either with the Boys and Girls Club of Southwest County, and the idea is to be able to take this program and go countywide and let different regions of the county implement it in different cities. And hopefully touch and influence about 40 to 50 kids on a one-on-one basis every year from each region. Thank you.
How can first, I commend you, Councilmember Ron, for making the council aware of this program. How can the city of Temecula help?
Well, the city of Temecula already does help. We actually do the graduation ceremonies right here. Mm-hmm. So the council chambers are a very large highlight of the program, where the parents and friends come and sit in the audience. They receive certificates. In fact, Councilmember Ron hands out certificates from the city of Temecula. Our DA handed out certificates to the graduates in the first curriculum, and Assistant District Attorney Cabral did this last one. So you are already doing your part. We're here to actually just let the council know that we're thankful for your partnership with us in the city, and we look forward to doing this going forward. And I'll take any other questions.
Thank you so much for coming out here tonight, and I know you guys are real busy, and I know you guys are extremely busy with the caseloads and the work that you have to do for our county. Thanks to Mike Hestron as well for supporting this. I know he's been a big supporter of it. Anything again that we can do, we can work together with you and the city manager's office and other. If you need help reaching out to other cities, if whatever it is that we can do. This is a wonderful program, great example of how we can get public safety and the courts and all that involved in these the lives of our youth. So let's make sure that we keep the conversation going, and hopefully we can identify areas where we can make this program stronger and grow it into what it really needs to be, a real good regional opportunity for everyone. So thank you again for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you, and we look forward to doing that.
About 6 years ago, I'll continue that theme. About 6 years ago, the council passed its youth master plan. And in passing its youth master plan, if you haven't seen the document, go on our website and get it. It's a fascinating document because the community created it along with the city council through charrettes and going out in the community. But one of the interesting conclusions we came to, which you remind me of, was that if we get to our youth early, okay, we're either going to pay now to get to them now and put them on the right path, or we're going to pay to incarcerate them or pay for drug rehab programs or you name it. And so what I see in what you're doing is exactly follows that theme. So again, I commend you, and if we could do anything else for you, please let us know.
Thank you, and we would agree. That's Mr. Hestron's first priority upon taking office, was to create these community-based programs in each of the region to work with our children, to show them there's other paths besides the paths that their friends may be taking.
Exactly. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And we have one last presentation. It will be from the American Heart Association. Is Cheryl Wilkerson here, Heart Walk Director, and Janice Lovendahl, Southwest Riverside County Heart and Stroke Walk Executive and Leadership Team Member. Ladies, good evening to you.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, Mayor Nagar and council members. It is truly an honor to announce that the City of Temecula has been recognized as a gold-level, fit-friendly work site here in Southwest Riverside County. I am presenting this award on behalf of American Heart Association, My Heart, My Life initiative. It is intended to be a catalyst for change or for positive change in the workplace all across America and here in our community. The City of Temecula has earned this recognition for helping its employees eat better and move more. It has demonstrated that physical activity and a culture of wellness is an important priority to this city. The City of Temecula is among elite organizations who consistently make healthy living, culture of wellness a priority in their workplace. As a gold-level worksite, the City of Temecula has demonstrated that they support employees' physical activity in the workplace, that it has increased the number of healthy eating options in the worksite. It promotes a culture of wellness, and it embraces at least 9 criteria that the American Heart Association has identified as benefit ideal heart health in the areas of activity, nutrition, and overall culture of the organization. I'd like to thank Lynn Lanier for steering the City of Temecula through the application process. And the American Heart Association commends the City of Temecula for its efforts and look forward to the scene continuing making great strides on the health of its employees and the entire community. So congratulations on a job well done, and thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I think I'm going to come down from the dais and accept that award.
Mr. Mayor, while you're doing that, I'd just like to reiterate that Temecula has heart. First time I've had a chance to say that in months now.
We loved that, by the way. Thank you. There you go.
Was there anybody to take a picture? I'm so used to it. Yeah. Well, we're actually on the video, Sue. That's good too.
There, I got you. I got you on the monitor too.
That's the best picture right there.
Thank you so much.
Actually, it was good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, it's really good. My name. There.
Oh, beautiful.
It's on
Thank
the
you.
monitor.
Nice, very nice. Thank you. Okay, that concludes our presentations. Oh, let's move over to the public comment portion of our meeting. Madam City Clerk, do we have public comments?
Mr. Mayor, we have 7 public comments.
7 public comments. Okay, so I will read the rules. Please bear with me as I do so. Public comments. A total of 30 minutes is provided for members of the public to address the City Council on items that appear within the consent calendar or a matter not listed on the agenda. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. If the speaker chooses to address the City Council on an item listed on the consent calendar or a matter not listed on the agenda, a request to speak form may be filled out and filed with the City Clerk prior to the City Council addressing public comments and the consent calendar. Once the speaker is called to speak, please come forward, state your name for the record. For all public hearing or council business items on the agenda, a request to speak form may be filed with the City Clerk prior to the City Council addressing that item. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes on matters on the agenda. Madam City Clerk, could you call the first speaker, please?
Mr. Mayor, the first speaker is Kelly Alvarado, to be followed by Kim Oakley.
Ms. Alvarado, good evening to you.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Kelly Alvarado. I'm the spouse of a firefighter who works for CAL FIRE, and he also works here in the city of Temecula. I just want to say thank you to public servants. I'm a public education teacher, a 6th grade teacher. My husband, again, is a firefighter. So I know that people in public service feel a responsibility to do for others. That's something that I talk to my middle school students often about. Tonight I'm here because I feel that I have a responsibility to advocate on behalf of firefighters who serve specifically in the city of Temecula, Riverside County, under CAL FIRE. I'd like to read something to you from Fire Engineering about suicide rates among firefighters. Little boys and little girls often dream of becoming firefighters. The Halloween costume with the big red hat that has been a perennial favorite for generations now. Every child loves the red trucks, the sirens, and the perception that firefighters are heroes as they save lives, help people, and save property. And they are heroes. They're heroes in the city of Temecula. They're heroes in my household. They're selfless heroes who should be celebrated perhaps more than some of the so-called heroes admired by today's young people. Underneath the glamour that many kids perceive as they think about firefighting as a difficult job, in fact, firefighting is so difficult that the profession was chosen as one of the most stressful jobs in 2015. Overlooking the obvious, the danger of firefighting, which causes an increased rate of mortality, and there are some stressors specifically involved. The National Firefighters Foundation reports that in a year, a department is 4 times more likely to experience the suicide death of a member than in the line of duty. So after I watched this documentary on suicide rates among firefighters with my husband, we had a discussion, and we were talking about some of the stressors that are affecting him and his colleagues, some of which are salaries that are approximately 80% below industry standard, and that goes for your firefighters here in Temecula. That's according to the Cal HR 2014 Firefighter Total Compensation Report, which I encourage you to read. Also are the long, dangerous work hours. They work approximately 30% more than the typical firefighter in the state of California. Again, refer to that report. So your firefighters here in the city of Temecula, their average shift consists of 72-hour work week. Well, in our household, we're a family of 5, we cannot survive on that salary that is 80% below. So my husband needs to work additional overtime, whether it's forced or not. So my husband that works here in the city of Temecula works approximately 96 hours a week. Usually those are consecutive hours. Many of them are without sleep, high stress, serious calls. So I am concerned as a mother and a citizen of this valley that you have firefighters serving your community who you love so much who are sleep deprived, stressed, and definitely underpaid.
And with that, Ms. Alvarado, your time is up.
Thank you so much. We ask the City Council to please look at our petition on change.org in support of our firefighters that serve our community. We also ask that you please communicate this crisis to the Riverside County Board of Supervisors and to Cal HR. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker, please.
Kim Oakley, to be followed by Mike Alvarado.
Ms. Oakley, good evening to you.
Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Kim Oakley. I'm here as a CAL FIRE wife to speak about some issues you may not be aware of regarding CAL FIRE salaries. First, let me give you some background. My husband has worked for CAL FIRE for over 30 years. When I first met him, he was a seasonal fire with CDF, which is now called CAL FIRE. Over the years, my husband has worked hard and climbed the ranks of CAL FIRE. He loves his job. He loves his rank. He is currently a battalion chief for CAL FIRE Riverside, Indio Battalion. Several months ago, I was made aware of a 2014 study that shows shocking pay inequities between CAL FIRE and comparable fire departments studied. For instance, despite my husband's high rank, his salary in CAL FIRE lags 91% behind equally ranked battalion chiefs working for comparable fire departments. You can see that list on the comparable fire departments in what Mrs. Alvarado referenced in the 2014 California Firefighter Total Compensation Survey. Specifically on page 6, the survey shows a CAL FIRE battalion chief makes about $5,000 less a month than a battalion chief in, for example, Bakersfield or Escondido. It's not just battalion chiefs who are getting shortchanged in CAL FIRE. According to the same survey, CAL FIRE captains are making $4,000 less a month than fire captains in, for example, LA or Ventura County. CAL FIRE engineers, the guys who drive the fire trucks, make $3,400 less a month than engineers at other departments. Likewise, a CAL FIRE firefighter 2 makes around $3,100 less than his counterparts in another department. As if being paid lower salaries isn't bad enough, the survey shows our CAL FIRE husbands work 31 more extra regularly scheduled days of work a year than comparable fire departments. In essence, they're working longer days for less pay. Clearly, this is a reality that has been hidden from the public far too long. Every year, our CAL FIRE husbands fight California's fiercest fires in treacherous terrain and dangerous conditions. If they're injured, they do not receive 100% of their salary, and that's something I definitely think the public is not aware of. In fact, they receive only 2/3 of it. They should not, therefore, have to endure unequal wages, longer work hours, and intolerable injury illness benefits. All of this needs to change given the dangerous job that they have. Our husbands' fire union has tried to fight, and their fight has gone largely ignored. It's a fire left smoldering and a wound still bleeding. As a fire wife of many years, I have never seen so many CAL FIRE employees either leaving the department for other higher paying departments or refusing to promote because pay compaction makes no sense.
Ms. Oakley, thank you for your comments. Your time is up.
Okay.
I would just, we're going to call the next speaker, but I would encourage you to stay. When we get to council comments, I'll have a comment about what you're talking about. So, okay?
Yes, sir.
Very good, and I think maybe some of my other colleagues may as well. Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Mike Alvarado, to be followed by Laura Sutton.
Mr. Alvarado, good evening, sir.
Hello, my name is Mike Alvarado. I am the firefighter who works here in the city. I want to say hello, and I know that you guys support your fire department. I know that the residents here support their fire department. But for you to make an informed decision, I feel like you need all of the answers. And to have all of those answers, you have to be provided the knowledge and the education. With that being said, as the numbers and the percentages are broken down to you, and you keep hearing all of this, the problem comes to your administrative fees keep going up. So if I'm 80% underpaid, I'm overworked, and my injury illness benefits and retirement and my health care lag by 45.7%, then why has your admin fee gone up by double-digit figures? Your city manager should ask that. Also, you as a county or a city council should ask that. That being said, where we're headed today is a crisis. Your firefighters within this city have been held on duty 14 days, required to be up 24 hours a day. I work on the ladder company. I drive the back portion. I can tell you that I do not feel safe when I've been up that long. Now it is up to me to tell my department that I don't feel safe, not my department to tell me that I don't feel safe. So, with that being said, I think that the City Council here has not only advocated for 4-person staffing, which I think is where the county needs to head in general, because I've watched it save lives. I've came from 2 to 3 to 4, and I have literally watched it with my eyes. I've watched it save lives. That being said, you guys as a City Council need to make an informed decision with the information that is provided to you, whether it's through CHI-Data, the report that was done in the standards of coverage. If you have not read it, I encourage you to do so, because it references the 72-hour work week as not being sustainable. That being said, I also recommend that you guys read the compensation salary survey and start asking those hard questions. Where are our monies going? If they're not going towards staffing and they're not going towards our firefighters' compensation, then where is this money going? So I ask all of you, is your responsibility in protecting the residents and the citizens of this city to ask those tough questions and to bring those answers back to all of your residents and your firefighters. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Laura Sutton, to be followed by Craig Puma.
Ms. Sutton, good evening.
Hello. I am Laura Sutton. I am speaking today because many of the public are not aware of how overworked and underpaid our CAL FIRE Riverside County firefighters are. According to the 2014 California Firefighter Total Compensation Report done by Cal HR, compared to 20 local city and county fire departments, CAL FIRE firefighters work 19 more hours a week at 83% less pay. My husband works for CAL FIRE Riverside County, and I, along with many wives, feel that our families have hit a crisis in regards to our husband's long work hours and low pay, which is now consistent with minimum wage. To those who are not familiar with CAL FIRE's schedule, their standard weekly shift is 72 hours straight, which is the only fire department that has that long of a shift. All city or county fire departments run on a 56-hour shift. My husband's station in Menifee runs an average of 2 to 4 calls after midnight each night. When you couple long shifts with little sleep, our first responders are now sleep deprived and exhausted. Additionally, due to their low pay, many husbands have to pick up extra overtime on top of their 72-hour shift just to keep up with California's cost of living. This creates a 96-plus hour work week, resulting in even more sleep deprived and overworked firefighters. You can only imagine how this affects our families when our husbands finally do get a day off and have not had a full 8 hours rest in days just to pay bills. It is time for our first responders to be compensated fairly and have equal work hours based on industry standards. They already have one of the most stressful jobs and go on calls I myself could never handle. Adding the stress of having to work additional overtime to pay bills is something no first responder should have to worry about. I'm reaching out, asking for support for our hardworking CAL FIRE men and women in our petition on change.org for more consistent pay and work hours based on industry standards. CAL FIRE firefighters are highly skilled and trained and respond to the same emergency calls and fires as local departments, so isn't it only fair that they are paid equally as well? CAL FIRE's Union Local 2881 has also recently organized a rally in front of the state capitol building that will be held in 2 weeks, and that's in regards to these very issues. So we ask that the city of Temecula communicate these concerns on behalf of the firefighters who serve their city and on behalf of the citizens they protect. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mr. Mayor, the next speaker is Craig Puma, to be followed by Rocky Osborne.
Mr. Puma, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council, city staff, management, City of Temecula. I know you're all watching out there. There's got to be at least 20 or 30,000 of them watching us on TV. I'm here on behalf of a portion of our community. As you know, I'm the president of the Old Town Temecula Association and the owner of the bank and 3rd Street Live with Rocky Osborne. And there's a couple of things that I know to be quite true. And I know that every single one in this room that's behind the desk and the 150 full-time employees for the city of Temecula and the 150 more that are part-time. And there's so many people working hard in this community. And we're all busy and we have a lot to do. And you especially handle the whole city of Temecula, where my focus, unless I'm at home, is Old Town. The next council meeting in 2 weeks will mark 2 years that I stood here and asked that we create a definitive program to allow music in Old Town for our visitors and our residents. And nothing's really been done on that. We had a couple of meetings to start with, and there was no finalization. And today we're met with really the tightening of the specific plan, and there are code enforcement going out and asking our music venues that don't have outdoor music permits to shut their doors and windows so that all music is contained inside. And in addition to the heat that is accumulated when you have 60, 70, 80 people, depending on the size of the venue, when you shut all the doors and then you have music going, there's a little bit of dancing, extremely hot in there. I want to tell you about a couple different people that I met that are representative of the people that have come to our town. Debbie and Dan Sweeney I met at the bank, and they told me that they come down from Northern California every 6 weeks, and it first started with a rod run, and it went into other events. Their schedule was that they would get here on Thursday night and leave Sunday morning early. That was their 6 times a year. We had an event going on in town Wednesday, and so they came down on Wednesday night, and they were walking the town, and they came across Pub and Grub. They heard the music of the jazz night. If any of you have seen Pub and Grub's jazz night, absolutely phenomenal night. My wife doesn't go as much as I do, but I visit it once in a while. They now come to Temecula on Wednesday nights, and they drive from Novato, California, directly to Pub and Grub, and they don't do anything else until they spend the night of jazz. That's indicative of the people that come to our community. They love the music, they love to walk the town, and they love hearing the music. On a business side, we love it when people walk in our doors because they hear the music coming from outside, which they can't hear if our doors and windows are shut. So I'd really like to ask that we get a steering committee going and we talk about these things, get the business owners in there, and come up with a definitive plan to take care of what is really a huge issue here in Old Town. Thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate, and you should appreciate, my time's up.
Thank you, Mr. Puma, right on the dot. Next speaker, please.
Rocky Osborne, to be followed by Mark Cusack.
Mr. Osborne, good evening to you, sir.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members. I'd like to take just a quick second and say to Mike, thank you for what you do. I think it's very important that we acknowledge the fire department and the police for everything they do. Thank you so much. I do work at 3rd Street Live right across the street. I do provide nightly entertainment. Some of you know me, I'm assuming. Some of you may not, but I am Rocky Osborne. I own Aces Comedy Club in Murrieta, California. Almost 5 years ago to this day, I actually came to Temecula. I lived in Temecula already, have been a resident since 2008, and I wanted to open a comedy club here in Temecula, which I felt was quickly shot down by, not you, but people below you, that decided they did not want my comedy club here in town. So we opened in Murrieta. When my lease ended, about 5-6 months ago now, maybe 7, I had an option. I could have stayed, or I could come here. After talking to Craig, I thought it would have been a great idea to move the comedy and the entertainment to 3rd Street, down into the 3rd Street Smokehouse, changing it over to what we call now 3rd Street Live, providing entertainment. We bring thousands of people in here a month. From the comedy nights we have, packed out comedy nights, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Unfortunately, most recently I felt unwelcomed once again, as I have been continuously fined for having my doors open. Again, like Craig says, it does get a little hot in there and get a little warm. Now, I have been fined for having comedy, which I'm sure some of you right off the bat think probably sounds a little weird, but our side door was open. Don't know why it was open. Probably a customer opened it, because we generally try to keep the doors closed during comedy shows. We do provide music and live entertainment as well. It's tough. It's very tough that people that do come to town park in the parking garage, walk out of the parking garage, and all they can hear is the music coming from Bailey's and the music coming from the other businesses that have approved music for outside. They hear that music over anything we're doing. So by forcing us to keep our doors closed and our windows closed in other businesses, and Craig and I have spoken to many people who are behind us on this, we don't want to keep our doors and windows closed because we do want people to come in. People have told us, we didn't know you had entertainment. We were here Friday night. And I think, wow, it's amazing. We had a band in here Friday night, but they can't hear it because the music from Bailey's and the music from the approved venues have their doors, windows, or they have the music and entertainment going on outside. And many people cannot hear it, and it affects our business greatly. It allows other people to find success with the entertainment portion while many of us continue to suffer. We are definitely asking you to please reconsider this, and as Craig said, we'd like to hopefully get together a meeting where we could sit, rediscuss, and see what we could do to come to terms to make it a more, or maybe find a more viable option for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Mr. Mayor, the last speaker is Mark Cusack.
Mr. Cusack, good evening, sir.
Hello, folks. I own Luke's on Front Street, the outdoor venue, and I'm here to support the other business owners in Temecula about the music. We have such a good crowd, and we have. I've been here since 1992. My wife and brother-in-law have been here since 1979, and from 92 until 2003, I came to Old Town one time, and that's it. And now people flock here, and it's a destination point. We get so many people that, like, I don't know how to explain it. I like Craig's venue, I like Rocky's venue, and we all trade out. Every owner in Temecula in Old Town trades out with people, and they're like, if you don't like this place, just go to this place, or go to this place, or there's 15 places that you can go in Old Town and just have a blast. And we've had 0 problems in 2 years. And all we do is promote Old Town. All we do is promote other businesses in Old Town. And I think that that's the most important thing. And with the music, it's things that people flock to. It's like a mini gas lamp. It's like a mini Austin, Texas. It's just people love coming here from, like with our venue, they come from San Diego. They're like, this is like being in Old Town San Diego. And I think it's important that we all work together and do something to where we can all just, I'm kind of nervous, but I can't explain it, but it's just, it's such a destination point now, and it's going to continue to grow. So I just appreciate your time. Thank you.
Mr. Cusack, thank you for coming this evening. No more speakers, Madam City Clerk?
No.
Okay. We're going to move on to City Council reports and comments. Do my colleagues want to get in the queue? Push your buttons. Oh, somebody went in and out. I don't see anybody. Councilmember Ron.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a slide, hopefully, maybe. Okay. Just to let the community know and let my colleagues and other folks know that both myself and Chief Kubel will be having a community conversation this Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m. in the Community Recreation Center at the Ronald Reagan Sports Park. It's being hosted by the NAACP, and the theme of the conversation and the meeting that evening is building trust between law enforcement, local government, and the communities they serve. I hope to see you folks there. It should be an interesting evening and hopefully a robust conversation. Other comments, I appreciate the folks from CAL FIRE and the families coming out this evening. I probably know who I am, right? We've been doing research and education programs with firefighters for about 10 years now. And aside from a personal affinity toward what firefighters do and what their families do to support them, I will tell you that I am definitely aware and definitely working toward resolution at the state level. Unfortunately, this is, a lot of the pay parity issues are a state level issue that local government, we're simply a contract city. That said, however, I think, there is a responsibility that we, be able to have a good discussion with you. I know 2881 has had a very good leadership role in this process. And I think the conversation on the pay issue is indeed an important one. But you also hit on some other very important issues as well. The suicide rates being one of them. Other things that we've been looking at include the exposure studies, the health risks, the cancer risks. The amount of time that you guys spend online working in, some of what arguably is the most extreme, environments, on the planet. It's just incredible the job that's being done. In 2014, myself and President Lopez from 2881 hosted a workshop, first symposium on wildland fire for both state and federal perspectives. And one of the things that across the country and across the expert participants, one of the themes that came out of that was that wildland firefighting and the job that CAL FIRE does is easily a generation behind what we've seen as far as structure and high-rise. And so what you're talking about today is not an easy lift. There is a lot of work that needs to be done, and it's taken decades for other aspects of the service to progress the way that it has. But know that personally and professionally, I'm here to support you in any way we can, and I look forward to seeing you on the 22nd as well. Another quick comment, and I believe Mayor Nagar, you and I are both on the Old Town Committee together. Is that correct? Yeah. In respect to some of the comments we heard this evening on the noise and other issues, this is definitely something that needs to be discussed. I fully appreciate the fact that we have folks from outside of our city, statewide and regionally coming into Temecula to enjoy our old town and enjoy our venues. But I also get now on a regular basis emails from some very upset folks who live, in the Old Town area and across Highway 15 complaining about that same noise. And they've had years of relative quiet. And that's changing. We understand that there are issues with potential code violations and other things, and I recognize the importance of building a thriving and vibrant tourist economy, but I also recognize the importance of protecting the residents who've been here and come to appreciate the quality of life that they've had. And so, one of the things with the concurrence of maybe the council this evening is I'd like to make sure that becomes a priority discussion for the subcommittee and that we move forward on addressing those issues, because the numbers of emails I see on this are only increasing, and I think it's an urgent matter now. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Ron. Councilmember McCracken.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I have a couple of slides. So August 18th, my colleague and I, Councilmember Comachero, we hosted our quarterly Military and Veterans Community Leaders Networking Group. This group was initiated by then Mayor Comachero and myself with the idea of taking all the local veterans groups and pretty much streamlining them. I've attended different events throughout the year, and it seems like 5 different events, we have the same groups that are doing the same exact thing. And within that, I get a bunch of emails, I'm sure Comachero does as well, requesting support from different veteran groups and asking for things that the other veteran groups supplies. So this has been a very productive meeting so far. We've got a chance to build some good partnerships within this organization, and I'm looking forward personally to the next couple of meetings for some different events to be hosted by those different groups. So it's going to be August 18th from 5 to 7 p.m. It's open to a veterans group and also veterans as well. So looking forward to seeing you there. And the point of contact for that is Betsy Lowry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next slide, please.
Oh, another slide. All right.
So this is something I'm very, very excited about. I've been in the education industry most of my military career, retired Navy, did the education program, junior Navy college officer aboard ship, and now that I'm on the council, I am so thrilled to be with my colleague, Councilmember Matt Ron, on the Higher Education Subcommittee. One thing we wanted to address was the need for workforce-ready individuals. And the program we're going to be putting on August 27th is called the Career Technical Education Program. So this program is set up to make students ready and competitive for the most sought-out careers, including IT, health education, energy, business, and hospitality. Partnership with TVUSD and Mount San Jacinto, this program is designed to provide those resources for those personnel that have life-changing events, whether you be a spouse of active duty member, have moved to Temecula with your spouse, and you give up your job in your last city. We want to make sure we provide resources for you to get back in the job market. And also, in this time of the year, there's a lot of different life-changing events. It could be a spouse who's got laid off from work, and now there's extra expenses in the family. And a lot of times our homemakers, and that's the most important job in my opinion, the homemakers are required to get in the job market, and they don't have the skills to do these things, or the skills are outdated, if you will. So this program is set up to help those individuals get back into the job field, make them competitive. So it's not only for veterans, it's not only for those spouses, it's also for adults. Sometimes we have things that happen in our lives that require us to get back into the job market. So this is going to be August 27th from 10 to 1 p.m. I invite all to come down. Please tell a friend about it, because a lot of times in this city, the best thing to get awareness is word of mouth. Point of contact for that is Charles Walker and Erica Russo. I asked them one simple question, and I came up with a great program. My question was, how do I as a council member provide resources for those people with life-changing events to make a resource for them? And this is what they came up with, and I am so proud of my team. And I have one more slide, if you will. The Hawk, I'm probably still your thunder on this one, but you can do it again the next council meeting. But this is a program, our 6th annual Health and Community Resource Fair. So what I'll do with this one, I'll cut to the chase. Mayor Nagar and myself on the committee that oversees nonprofit applications for funding from the city. This program, it's my second time looking at it, being on the council, and a lot of programs didn't meet the requirements. We have limited funds this year, so we had to cut what we do. So I received a lot of emails and had a lot of different meetings with different nonprofits, and they are hurting because we have to cut some of these programs. So again, it's something that's near and dear to my heart. So again, I had a meeting with staff, and we came up with something I think is a great idea. I'm so proud of this one. There's an event that happens annually, receives a lot of recognition, it's highly visible, and people come from all over to see it, our Health and Wellness Fair. So there's already a presence of nonprofits in that different meeting. So what we've done is reached out to those nonprofits who didn't meet the requirements and those who did within the city to put an application in to attend this program. And I've received some great information. There's 15 additional nonprofits attending this program that has never attended before. First time they've done this. So what this is going to do is give them the publicity they need, a chance to come out to a venue that's already well publicized, to get a chance to talk to the residents with their programs and pitch them, if you will. So as a city, we have limitations, but as a community, sometimes we can do things a different way. So point of contact with us is Yvette Martinez. So that's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Any of my other colleagues in the queue? Hold on a second. Gone. That leaves me. Okay, and I'll just make it real quick. If you can put up the slide of our Chinese visitors. Temecula has a renowned, before you go through it, let me set it up. Temecula has a renowned human services department, and the human services department is primarily seeing that we cater to the needs of those with special needs, autism, disabilities, also the senior community, and really any sort of special needs. We're now being visited by students from China to see how our human services department works and to copy some of our techniques. So if you can go ahead and put up the slides real quick, we'll run through them. They came here yesterday, a bright group of youngsters and some adults. Next slide. Next slide. Just quickly, Charles Walker there educating them. Next slide. They got a seat at the dais. Next slide. And of course, we took a picture of the whole group. Next slide. And there we go. So I just want to bring you up to speed. I thought we were becoming a local leader, then it's a regional leader. Now we're going international with our Human Services Department, and that's pretty cool. But moving on to something a little bit more serious. Oftentimes, a lot of what happens as council members in our personal life sometimes lead public policy. We saw a lot of that with my son being diagnosed with autism and what came out of that, and all the autistic services that now are offered in the region by many people. We were just the spark, and the fire caught. When we last heard the marijuana growth issue, I remember bringing up the topic of those suffering from cancer, et cetera, sometimes needed marijuana to relieve their pain. And I talked about a young family member who recently passed away from cancer, a 9-year-old, a close family member by the name of Aurora Sluter. And she was diagnosed at 4 years old and fought it for 5 years and died this April. But something, I didn't really want to talk about that or put up her picture, but something came out of that. Her mother worked for me for about 13 years. And through that process, I was able to watch how somebody gets cancer treatment. The having to leave work to take their child, having to go to many doctor's appointments, having to take scans and chemotherapies. And you find that there is a real shortage of those type of services here in the Temecula Valley area. You find that those type of medical services are offered in San Diego, or they're offered in Orange County, or they're offered in Los Angeles. And so oftentimes the parent or parents have to take time off. It's seldom a few hours. It's typically a half a day or a day. It can literally break a family. So I got together with Mayor Pro Tem Edwards, who sits on the Human Services Subcommittee with me, and we met with our local and only really active cancer nonprofit in the area, Michelle's Place. And we said, what do we know about this? Services for cancer, tell us, do we have enough? Do we have too little? What's going on? And she, Kim Goodenough from Michelle's Place, just spit it out. She said, really, we are severely deficient when it comes to cancer services here in Temecula area. Now, nobody really wants to get real proficient at cancer services. It's not, it's something that we wish we really didn't have to deal with. But if you can put up the slide that I asked my staff prepared. We've put together a meeting of the Human Services Subcommittee of Mayor Pro Tem Edwards and myself. And that will be this Thursday morning at 8 o'clock. We have representatives and council members from City of Lake Elsinore, City of Murrieta, City of Menifee, County of Riverside, our staff. Rick Bishop from WRCOG will be here. Officials from Temecula Valley Hospital, Rancho Springs Hospital, and then Valley Hospital. We've invited Loma Linda Hospital, but I don't know if they've confirmed. UCR Medical School, Michelle's Place will be here, the American Cancer Society, and the Economic Development Corporation of Southwest California. The goal is to see how we can bring those services here. I anticipate this morphing into a task force of sorts, where this is a kickoff meeting and we'll all decide the direction we want to go. We'll report back to the council, Mayor Pro Tem, as to what's happening, but I believe it'll morph into a just like the Autism Task Force or the Health and Family Needs Task Force. It will morph into, we need to be educated in many areas. Who are the doctors and who are the service providers? How do we go get them to Temecula? How can we increase the services here? How can we ease the burden of those who are suffering from cancer? And literally, when someone is stricken with this, have their whole livelihood put on the line. So that's going on this Thursday. We look forward to it.
Time of the meeting?
Time of the meeting is 8 a.m. Mr. City Manager, are we're not opening it to the public, is that correct?
No, we didn't notice this meeting. Just
Right.
to correct something you said, we don't have council members coming from other cities. It's just the two of you.
Got it, thank you.
So we did not notice it, and it is 8 a.m. here at City Hall.
Okay, very good. And out of that, we'll have a framework. Thank you for the clarity, Mr. City Manager. And then lastly, I did want to speak to the CAL FIRE issue, and thank you for waiting for that. You know, this isn't the first time we've heard of this. You know, your union rep, Darren Hoopengarner, has, you know, been talking to me for a long time, for the past 2 years about this. And I'm glad to see you're starting to maneuver. It really is a problem when, at first, you know, we contract with CAL FIRE because it's the best thing to do. It works out for us. But we also want the best services that we can have. I think you mentioned that when you were speaking. And it seems that if what you're saying is true, and I have no reason to doubt it, the best services seem to be suffering. Well, we don't necessarily want that. Why is that occurring with us? Something else occurs to me as well. And again, Darren was very keen on mentioning this, is that it creates a turnover rate. So we become the training ground for all the entry-level firefighters, and they go out and they get a better job somewhere else. And it seems to me that we're going to pay, somehow CAL FIRE is paying, either could pay higher salaries or keep training new firefighters, and it just seems to be a revolving door. The problem, as my council colleague Matt Ron said, is we really don't control those things. But I speak for myself because I can't speak for the council on this. We haven't made any sort of decision, but I think you'd find consensus that we support competitive pay. Absolutely do. And anything that we can do, or certainly this council member, and again, I'll leave to my other colleagues here to speak for themselves, I'm sure that we would do. The rally, I can't be at the one in Sacramento. Maybe I can. We'll see how it goes, but I know you'll represent us well. So I'd like to leave the issue with this. I do think we need to speak up somehow. And I think that the dialogue needs to occur and start to get elevated. Do we have a subcommittee that can dialogue on this already in place? I'm hesitant to form a new subcommittee, but is there a subcommittee, Mr. City Manager, where two council members can begin to dialogue on this, preferably Dr. Ron and I, since I think we've kind of alluded we have a concern?
I'm not aware that we have an existing subcommittee that would be appropriate to discuss this issue, so
Well,
we would need
with
to.
a quick council consensus, would anybody on the council be bothered if Councilmember Ron and I had dialogue with staff about this?
We would bring that back to...
You have to bring it back?
Yeah, and then we'd set up the ad hoc subcommittee.
I didn't want
But
to...
you're only two council members, so if you talk before then, it's not a problem.
Okay, I didn't necessarily want to set up a subcommittee, but you know what? Are you okay with that? What do you think?
Well, you know, I think it's a good idea, not just for this issue. This isn't going away, and this is just a small piece of what not just fire, but, you know, law enforcement are dealing with right now. And I think, you know, creating some sort of public safety, you know, subcommittee that can address sort of the broader issues, not just, you know, pay parity, but beyond that. And to, you know, perhaps delve a little bit deeper into contract questions, you know, work conditions. I mean, there's a lot there.
Very good. You know what? I get it.
And you know what? It would actually be really nice too if we could put the, because we've had on the CIP, although not funded, but a first responders memorial for the city as well. Might be nice to roll that into it as well. So there's a, you know, I think a growing list of items that could be addressed under
So
that.
let's bring that back as a agenda item to appoint a subcommittee to do that. And you know, 2-3 years ago, I'm just again speaking when you guys, I mean your representatives came to us and What's the name of the station that we just renovated? What number is it? 83? 83, is it?
73.
73. You know, we got it. I mean, it was inferior sleeping conditions and living conditions. You know, it had to be renovated. We hear you. We want the best, the brightest, the most alert first responders we can have, and that's something that our citizens want. So we heard you, and it'll be an agenda item. You don't need to be here. You know, we'll appoint 2 council members, and off we go. And that's all I have. Any other comments? Okay, sounds good. So we'll move on to the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine, and all will be enacted by one roll call vote. There'll be no discussion of these items unless members of the City Council request specific items be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. 1, waive reading of standard ordinances and resolutions. 2, approve the action minutes of July 26, 2016 and July 28, 2016 special meeting workshop. 3, approve list of demands. 4, approve the city treasurer's report of June 30th, 2016. 5, receive report regarding status of upcoming vacancies on boards and commissions. 6, approve the First Amendment of the Agreement for Consulting Services with the Environmental Science Associates for an environmental impact report for the proposed Cypress Ridge development. 7, approve a sponsorship agreement between the City of Temecula and nonprofit Autism MX in support of the Adventure Club, and that is at the request of Mayor Nagar. 8, approve the agreement with the County of Riverside for library services at the Ronald H. Roberts Temecula Public Library. 9, approve the all-inclusive settlement agreement and general release between the City of Temecula and Ruben Valuza individually and doing business as Audio Evolution, Inc. for the Overland Drive Extension, PW 16-06. 10, award a construction contract to Hit Brink Asphalt Paving, Inc. for the pavement rehabilitation program, Overland Drive, Jefferson Avenue to Commerce Center Drive, PW 12-15. I'll take a motion.
Move consent.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Comachero, second by Councilmember McCracken. Please cast your vote. That passes 5-0. At this time, I'm going to recess the City Council meeting and turn the gavel over to President Jeff Comachero of the Temecula Community Services District.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to call this meeting of the Temecula Community Services District to order. Madam Clerk, we are all here this evening. Do you have any public comment under this portion? Seeing none, we'll continue. We have 2 items under the consent calendar. Item 11, approve the action minutes of July 26, 2016. And item 12, approve the pass-through of security services for private facility rentals.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Edwards, a second by Mr. McCracken. Please cast your votes. That motion does carry unanimously, 5-0. A director's report.
Yes, Mr. President. This Friday, Hot Summer Nights is in full swing in Old Town from 6 to 10 p.m. This week's schedule includes bands at Old Town Pub and Grub, Bailey's, Lorimar Loft, 3rd Street Live, and the Gambling Cowboy, plus Star Wars and Disney characters at Mad Madeline's and the Sweet Shop. And if you're looking for something else to do with the family, this Friday is also the annual Build Your Own Boat Regatta from 6:30 to 9 o'clock p.m. at the CRC. Teams build and sail a 2-person vessel across the treacherous waters of the CRC pool. I believe last year's winner was one of our commissioners. Is that correct?
Okay, I'll take that.
It wasn't you.
That's just wrong. It's wrong.
Who will sail away with the trophy this year and who will sink under pressure? Commissioner Schwank. Stay tuned, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Mr. Adams.
Nothing further.
Okay, with no further business.
Move
then,
adjournment.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Any objection?
Nope.
No. We are adjourned 4-1. Mr. Nagar objecting.
Okay. At this time, I'm going to call to order the Temecula Public Financing Authority. Madam City Clerk, let the record reflect. All authority members are present. Do we have any public comments? Then we'll move to the consent calendar. We have one item on consent, approve the action minutes of July 26, 2016.
Move approval.
Second.
That was that you, Councilmember Ron? Got it. And a second by Councilmember Comachero. And that passes 5-0. Let's see. Executive Director?
Nothing tonight.
Any Board of Directors? I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Let's see what we have here. Now we're going to go to the reconvene the Temecula City Council, go to the public hearing portion of our meeting. Any person may submit written comments to the City Council before public hearing or may appear and be heard in support of or in opposition to the approval of the projects at the time of the hearing. If you challenge any of the projects in court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at the public hearing or in written correspondence delivered to the city clerk at or prior to the public hearing. Item 14, adopt a weed abatement lien resolution for fiscal year 2015-16.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, before you tonight's the weed abatement lien resolution for fiscal year 2015-16. Each spring, the city begins the process to cause abatement of hazardous vegetation on properties throughout the city. Title 8 of the Municipal Code provides that the city authority to cause the removal of hazardous vegetation on private property that poses a danger to public health and safety. Parcels in need of weed abatement are notified via certified mail, given 90 days opportunity to abate the conditions prior to city taking action. If sites are not abated by the property owner, then the city will acquire a warrant to enter the property for weed abatement. Owners are billed by the city to recover the cost of that abatement, and if those costs aren't recovered, the city will then move to place a lien on the property. The lien process requires a public hearing, which we're holding tonight. Property owners are given opportunity to comment on proposed liens. Then the council is required to adopt a resolution confirming the costs incurred by the city. This year, we sent out 654 property notifications to abate, and after working with many of those property owners, we're down to only 19 that require liens here tonight. With that, staff is recommending that the City Council adopt a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Temecula ordering confirmation of special assessments against parcels of land within the City of Temecula for costs of abatement and removal of hazardous vegetation for fiscal year 2015-16. That concludes my report. Available for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions of staff? Seeing none at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing. Do we have any speakers?
Mr. Mayor, we do not.
So at this point, I'm going to close the public hearing and go to council discussion or a motion.
Move item 14.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Comachero, a second by Councilmember Ron. Apparently, there's no discussion. Please cast your vote.
Remember Ron?
I can't.
Oh,
It's not working.
I'll do it for you.
I got it.
There we go, and that passes 5-0. Now we move to the City Council business portion of our meeting. Item 15, consider recommendations to appropriately honor Mr. Jimmy Moore. This is at the request of myself and Councilmember McCracken. Can we have a staff report?
Absolutely. Good evening, Mayor Nagar and City Council. I'm Betsy Lowry, Senior Management Analyst for the City of Temecula, City Manager's Office. On July 14th, 2016, a founding father of the City of Temecula passed away, Mr. Jimmy Moore. Known to many as Mr. Temecula, or Father of Temecula, he was the chairman and president of the City Committee formed during the late 1980s, leading an organization comprising of approximately 30 members who were city and corporation proponents. The City Committee, with Mr. Jimmy Moore as its president and chairman, was responsible for the extraordinary community effort that ultimately steered Temecula into cityhood as of December 1st, 1989. As a founding father of the City of Temecula, Jimmy Moore spoke at our city's 25th anniversary, if you remember. He recalled the early days in the 1980s when he first met together with a group of incorporation proponents. Having previously spent 21 years in the U.S. Army, he said before retiring as Lieutenant Colonel, Jimmy Moore said to all of us at the city's 25th anniversary celebration that he, quote, supposes he was elected to become the chairman of the City Committee because or beat over the head, he said, because the others felt he knew something about leadership since he was a retired lieutenant colonel. Mr. Moore was also the Temecula Valley Chamber of Commerce Ambassador of the Year in 1987, about the time he was part of this committee. He recalled that the city committee only wanted members serious about incorporation effort. He said, "Anyone could join our effort, but if you missed 3 meetings, you were off the committee." Jimmy Moore's wife, Peg Moore, was also the secretary of the city committee and later elected as one of the first 5 council members to serve on the first Temecula City Council. And that's just the start of his lifetime of community service and civic service. Jimmy Moore remained very active in Temecula throughout the years. He has been the co-chair of United Way, a member of the Temecula Town Association, president of the Temecula Valley Historical Society, a member of the Kiwanis Club of Temecula Valley, active with the Temecula Valley Wine Society and Temecula Wine Competition, engaged with the Temecula Valley Museum, a board member for the Temecula Valley Symphony, a board member for the California Chamber of Orchestra, treasurer of the Arts Council here in Temecula, an advocate for OSHA Lifelong Learning Institute at Cal State San Marcos in Temecula, and most recently, a member of the newly formed Veteran Military Leaders Stakeholders Group of Temecula. He was involved in many arts and cultural events held in Temecula and remained obviously very actively engaged with the city, together with his wife of 61 years, Peg Moore, who, by the way, is the city's current chairperson of the city's Old Town Local Review Board, and it's her 5th term doing so. A few of these slides show Peg Moore as his wife and the first city council, and you'll recognize all of them. And all of this is nothing new to you, but I know we have an audience watching and listening about Jimmy Moore. So his history was critical to us becoming a city. At the last city council meeting, Mayor Mike Nagar and Councilmember Michael McCracken suggested that the city council discuss possibilities to honor Mr. Jimmy Moore. A few are already in place to honor Mr. Moore as follows.
Oh, that's a good one.
There he is at the art festival. As follows. Okay, the city will be hosting a public memorial with military honors. This is scheduled at the Old Town Temecula Community Theater on Wednesday, August 17th at 10 a.m. with a reception to follow at approximately 12 at the Merc. Also, a plaque listing the members of the city committee and corporation proponents, including chairperson and president Jimmy Moore, and the secretary, by the way, was his wife, Peg Moore, as well as the first elected city council, which included Peg Moore. This is installed at the base of our flagpole in front of Civic Center as a tribute to the efforts of Mr. Jim Moore and those who led the path for Temecula to become a city. Among additional recommendations that the council may wish to consider in honor of Mr. Moore may be consider nominating Mr. Moore for the Wall of Honor, which is located here at the Civic Center, a medal or pin in the name of Mr. Jimmy Moore, and that would be reserved for citizens in the future that demonstrate extraordinary efforts of engagement in the community for the betterment of the city of Temecula, or a plaque in his name has also been suggested. At this point, we'll leave this for City Council to discuss and direct staff accordingly. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Lowry right now? Okay. Madam City Clerk, do we have any requests to speak? Oh, okay. So we'll move right into council discussion. Councilmember Comachero.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Betsy. Boy, it's hard to find something to say about Jimmy that hasn't already been said, but what a wonderful citizen he has been of Temecula. You know, I was thinking about this during the last couple of days and was reading the staff report and some of the recommendations, and it seems like, to me, the Wall of Honor is kind of a no-brainer and should happen regardless of anything else that we do, but it's not enough in my mind. And I saw the recommendation for to create an honor with a pin, and while I think that's a great idea, I don't think that's enough either. But we've got an area out in front of City Hall where there's flagpole and it's kind of patriotic, and it just always seems appropriate to me, and maybe it's just me, to kind of take those who we really revere in the city, and when we want to name things after them, to find a place and name a place, and it just kind of lasts forever. So I'm not going to make that as a motion or anything. I'd like to certainly stimulate discussion, see what everybody else thinks, but I think renaming that little square in honor of Peg and Jimmy Moore would be very appropriate.
Thank you. Councilmember McCracken.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I think that's a great suggestion idea. When I learned of Jimmy Moore's passing away, it kind of set me back. Well, I first met Jimmy Moore in 2006. I've known him the least here, but in 2006, I was hosting an event that I initiated, Veterans Temecula Valley. I'm looking for veterans in the community to recognize and support, and his name came up. Had no idea who this gentleman was, have never met him before. And as naive as I was, I walked up to him and I introduced myself and I shook his hand and he smiled. First question he said was, how can I help you make this program better? Had no idea I'm talking to the father of Temecula, right? But that's how Jimmy was. He was all about the team effort, all about recognizing others, not just himself. And even when he spoke about his involvement with making the city into a corporation, he'd always smile when you acknowledge him and push it towards someone else. So I think this award, when I first had the idea about the Melody Award, I recommend it should be something that represents Jimmy. Although he's done all these great things for the city, he has never taken a personal acceptance of those things. It's always about the team. Yeah. So my suggestion, recommendation would be the name will still stand, Jimmy Moore, Founding Fathers. The Jimmy Moore, because the idea come because of his passion, because of his contribution to the city. Founding Fathers would represent the First City Council and their effort to initiate, to kind of get us rolling to be a great city today. So they say in the military that, the command follows great leadership. If you have great leadership, the command follows. And I think this city is blessed right now. It's a great city because we had a great founding fathers and our first council members. So I'm thinking this award, if Jimmy were here today, when I asked him this question, he would say, yes, but what about everybody else? So I think, Jimmy Moore, Founding Fathers, Jimmy Moore because it's initiated in his honor, and Founding Fathers to represent those that worked hard with him to have this done. And I'm thinking maybe our first city council meeting, the TCC, be on one side of whatever we do, or maybe part of it. And when this building was first opened for business, that'd be my recommendation.
Nice.
Thank you. Councilmember, or rather Mayor Pro Tem Edwards.
The last time Jimmy stood in the well and spoke to the council, he talked about education and being curious his whole life and how that curiosity propelled them into this phase of their life, being senior citizens. And he used to talk all the time how he and Peg would take classes together, and he promoted education and just for fun in their senior years, and they were always busy doing something, and they took a number of classes constantly. So because Jimmy and Peg were so enamored with lifelong learning and promoted it always, I think that we should honor him in a way that also gives our residents and visitors and tourists to Temecula a chance to learn how a city is founded. If somebody said, hey, let's go start a city, would any of us have any clue how to go about it? Or would we have had a clue 25 years ago before we were all part of this and kind of grew up in this environment? I certainly wouldn't have had an idea. But because of Jimmy, he one step at a time, put one foot in front of the other and put together a coalition of community leaders, and they didn't know what they were doing at the time. In fact, I remember the words of another council member, Carl Lindemans, and I can't use the exact words that he used, but he said they didn't know bleep from Shinola when they started to put together the city of Temecula. But here we are, 7 years later because of Jimmy's leadership. And I would like to see something with his picture on it, a plaque, and then, a brief form of the story of how he helped to guide other residents, other interested residents, into forming this township, as I used to call it, into a city, and some of the steps that they went through to get here. It'll give people an idea of how you go about creating a town, and then they can see how far we've come from those days. But I definitely think that it would pay tribute to Jimmy's huge contribution of leadership, his love for education, and he persisted always in his love for Temecula. He was always upbeat and positive. He would always find an answer for any issue or solution, and he said, if you're having trouble, go to school and learn how to do it. So I think we should consider it a teaching opportunity when we honor him.
Very good. So what I'm hearing, and I think I would agree with you, some sort of relief, much like we did, let's say, on a plaque with Birdsall, some sort of with a little narrative. I'm hearing you talk about the area next to the flagpole, Councilmember Comachero, which is kind of a pseudo-Founders Square. How do we incorporate Founders Square, Jimmy Moore, Peg Moore? How do we see it coming together?
How about a granite rock with a brass plaque in it that does exactly what you're talking about in that location?
In that location.
You'd have to see where it works precisely.
So are we in agreement that area is is a pseudo Founders Square? Is that fair enough? Can we call it Founders Square?
I like it.
Is that okay?
No, I think we should call it Peg and Jimmy Moore Square.
Well, that's where I was trying to reconcile the two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's fine, and I think what Councilmember McCracken was alluding to is later on, if you want to incorporate the names of other peoples there, other persons there, you were talking about having it be the Peg, the Jimmy and Peg Moore founders. They could be Jimmy and Peg Moore founders, part of that group, that illustrious group of people that might find their names there.
So I'm hearing two things. I'm hearing a Founders Square with a monument of some sort, or I'm hearing naming the square after Jimmy and Peg. I'm hearing two things.
If I could, I kind of think the honor is nice to name it after him, but I think the way you put it makes more sense. It's less cumbersome, and it's awfully nice to have something called a Founders Square, and gives us the opportunity to expand on that in the future as circumstances may warrant.
And that's what
and
we were
then,
saying.
as a first part of that, maybe the only part, who knows, to install some kind of a plaque in an appropriate location.
And they'd be the
So
first.
I'd favor that. I think that's a very good.
And I think
They would be the first, always the first.
So I think we're getting consensus here. First, the flagpole area outside the convention center is to be named Founders Square. Then a monument described by the council with some form of relief of Jimmy and a narrative, whether it be block or granite. You could bring it back to the council. Whatever you want to do, whatever.
We do a brass plaque. I assume it's got to be inset in something.
Right.
So whether it's on the ground or it just really depends on the site. I think we should probably.
We need to walk out
Yeah,
there first.
I'd like to make sure we're not, get staff to,
That would be a job for the beautification committee.
Or we disbanded the Civic Center Committee, I think.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. All right, just bring it back, staff. We'll look at it. Bring back some renderings. Councilmember McCracken.
So what I'm thinking is we're a young city, 27 years old. Most cities who's been around for a couple of 100 years, they have a Founders Hall, and you see in their city hall and in a conspicuous area their founders and their history. I think that's a no-brainer anyway. It's time we did this anyway. So 15, 20, 30 years from now, we want to make sure we have something for our future generation to see that
Yes.
these are our founders. So I'm thinking that could be something separate in addition to, if you will, what we're doing for Jamie Moore and Founding Fathers, what we're speaking of, it should be, if we don't do it now, they'll do it 15, 20 years from now. But we need to do something to acknowledge our founders. I think this would be a good place in the civic. But what I'm speaking of is something in addition to that, to recognize Jimmy Moore by having citizens that do things above and beyond, a way to recognize them and have their name after them. So I'm thinking it's a good idea to put that placard or designate that area as Founders Hall or Founders Corner, because if I go to Memphis, if I go to Boston, you see they have those founders, and they have a place you can go and recognize their founders. So we're 27 years old. I think it's time we did that. So in the future, that's something that our future generation don't have to worry about.
And I think there's a place out there, if I remember what the front looks like,
I think so,
that
yeah.
that would be conducive to adding more. And we may want to consider just, if you put a plaque with Jimmy's face on it and call him, Founding Father, that pretty much says it all. And then anyone that follows may not have their face on a plaque, but they would be on there, and it could even be the people that are on the Wall of Honor now.
If I could, of course. I think we have to make sure that we include PEG in that.
Oh, yes, yes.
And that's, they're a team.
Yes.
Can I, so I am not an artist. I would imagine my background is about the opposite of whatever that is. And so, but I know what I like. And so I don't want to shoot from the hip here this evening. I think we've got some good ideas. I think, out of deference to, I think the tremendous respect we all have for Jimmy, and the idea of appropriately commemorating his contributions to the city. I think we've got some good ideas, but I'd really like to see some, staff time on this and maybe some artist interpretation on this, because, we're sort of biting around the edges of what needs to be done. I think we've got some good concepts, but, I'd like to see some.
You get a picture, Peg will submit us some photographs of she and he and they were.
Well, but I guess what I'm saying is, you've seen, when you go to cities or federal memorials, state memorials, you know the ones that stand out, the ones that are appropriately respectful of the individual, and I think there are some wonderful examples of those out there. And perhaps this is an opportunity for us to sort of step back and say, what are those, that really represent the individual, really represent, from his education, love of education to, his dedication and military service. This is a very complex and very charismatic man. And I think it's a good idea for us to step back a little bit and say, what is the most appropriate way of recognizing that individual and making sure that it's, has the opportunity for growth, because, I think we mentioned here as well is, there's an opportunity as this Founders Square or whatever, term we designated ultimately, that, there are others out there today and tomorrow that should be appropriately recognized. And, I'd like to make sure that we give sort of appropriate time to really go through the list of potential options and some drawings or, conceptualizations of what this might actually become.
I concur.
Councilmember Comachero.
Yeah, I think we've got a lot of consensus up here, at least conceptually. And we do have a process in place we've used in the past, and I think it works very well. I would suggest that staff now has the direction that we provided tonight. Do some work on that, come up with maybe a couple of different renditions of things, take it to the Community Services Commission, who we've charged with handling public art and arts in public places and the like, and then back to us with a finished product so we can review it. And that'd be a motion.
Second.
Mr. Comachero, did you want to, and does the council want to name that portion Founders Square now or later?
I think that should be part of the motion, so I'll include it.
To name it now or to take it to the community services?
No, I think we can name it now.
And I'll second for discussion.
Go ahead.
Does that include just the portion that is immediately in front of City Hall that is hardscaped?
That's what I was going to ask, if I may just jump
Yes,
in
go
real
ahead.
quick.
And
Just
not
for
the town
clarity,
square, which is the grass.
you know, there is the area in front of the flagpole that Councilman Comachero was referencing, and then there's the civic quad area, which lends itself to a square. And I don't know if, Mayor, that's what you were referencing in terms of Founders Square or the smaller
I'm
area.
thinking the flagpole
Yeah,
area.
the smaller,
Okay.
the paved portion.
Yeah. That would be, is that
Yes.
your motion? And is that your second? In agreement?
Yes.
Okay, so just to reiterate, that portion outside the Civic Center where the flagpole will now become Founders Square. We'll prepare some sort of artistic piece, relief to honor Jimmy Moore, but it will come back to the council, or rather, it will go through the Community Services Commission, and then ultimately to the council. Councilmember Ron.
But it's not really a square, right? It's more like a.
I knew you were going to bring that up.
I mean, I don't want to
Okay.
get into the geometry of it,
Hey,
but you know, I
Dr.
just sort
Ron.
of.
The founder's hypotenuse.
Well, I just, you know, sort of appropriately named. I mean, you know, again, I think this is maybe something that the committee can bring back, and I think I absolutely am.
Okay.
Because then we're left with, you know, how many areas are we going to carve off and call little sections? I love the idea of calling the entire area Founders Square because it indeed is a square.
Right.
But, you know, so if we're going to define it, let's make sure it's, you know, confining it to just the flag area, I think, is a bit of a concern because then it's not really a square. It's like a founder's place, you know. So, you know, and maybe we're just, you know, splitting hairs here, but
Yes, we're splitting hairs.
But you know, I think again, this is one of those things where, you know, conceptually, I'd really like to see this come back as a package with several options and sort of definitions a little bit more fleshed out before we make any solid decisions here tonight.
Councilmember Comachero.
The term square, at least in my mind, does not denote a geometric shape when we talk about areas of recognition in cities. I mean,
Well, but they're typically those centerpieces of, you know, the square is typically, you know, surrounded by streets, has the plaza around. I mean, you know, that's what we typically associate with the
I think we're
square.
getting far too in the weeds, personally. I respect what you're saying. Technically, it's not a square. I agree. I think we could make it a square by calling it a square. And so I'd like my motion to stand.
We have your second.
Yes.
Do we have any further discussion?
I'd really like to see this come back as a full, you know, no disrespect meant, but I really want to make sure that we do this the right way. I'm just a little uncomfortable with that we're not defining it the way that, you know, from a legacy perspective. You know, this is something that stands for now and into the future for this city, the front of our civic center, and for all residents and future, you know, founders of this city. And so I'm just saying, you know, no disrespect meant, but I'd just like to make sure that we appropriately define, you know, exactly what it is we're talking about. And, you know, and if we're going to define something like the Founders Square, which I think is a wonderful idea, that we really, you know, this is our opportunity to really take that piece of the center of where we host so many activities that are a part of, you know, our foundation here as a community, and to really appropriately designate that. So then when we say, you know, we will be meeting at Founders Square, the concert will be held at Founders Square, you know what I mean? I'd like that to be that sort of larger designation and recognition of an area.
Quick, I respect what you're saying. That area is now getting close to 6 years old. It's been called the Town Square. It's referred to as the Town Square. It's a concert in Town Square. That's already established, and I don't think that name should be changed.
Let's be clear on something. I don't consider I don't consider a Founders Square the portion where we hold concerts or the grass. And I don't think that's what we're naming here. We're naming the area outside the doors, or it's over there rather, outside the doors, as you go to the flagpole. So Councilmember Ron, I'm not insensitive to what you're saying. How would you change it? What are you thinking about?
Well, like I said, I'm not an artist and I'm not an expert in this area at all, but I know what I like. You know, and I'd like to have more options, and I'm just not 100% comfortable with the naming. You know, I think Founders is, you know, appropriate, absolutely. You know, but I think, you know, it'd be nice to have, you know, some options brought to us, you know, have the you know, commission look at it, and make sure that we're, you know, appropriately spending the amount of time necessary to, create this legacy piece within the front of this City
Mayor?
Hall.
Yes, Mr. City Manager. go
If
for
I
it.
may, if the council chooses to defer the decision to vote tonight, when we bring back the concepts that were requested, certainly that could be part of the action at that time as well.
Let's do this. It's important we have agreement on all this.
Agreed.
Okay? Peg's had some health issues, and I want her to be able to appreciate this in the memory of her husband. So I do not want this to delay. Okay? Yet there is merit in looking at it broadly. Councilmember Ron, I would somewhat agree with you, and so that's what I'm torn between. So if it's okay with you, let's see if this works. We immediately get those concepts immediately over to the Community Services Commission, the town square idea, et cetera, get that over to the commission, and get this back to us ASAP. So we're talking 2-3 weeks max. Is that okay?
I'm okay with that, but let's be fair to staff.
Fair enough.
For the same reason that you're talking about. I don't think, we want something to be drawn on the back of a napkin. So
I agree.
I think
they would not
It
do
is
that.
going to. Well, I know they wouldn't do that, but if we put pressure on them to get it back to us in 3 weeks or 2 weeks, whatever, and it has to go to the commission. Commission doesn't meet again until the first week of September. And then it would have to be scheduled for us.
And see, that's sort of what concerns me a little bit. The area we're talking about is a small area. If we're going to designate that as a area, a founder's area, it already sort of is. I mean, it's where the flagpole is, the plaque's there. It's already kind of been designated as that. It's a small area. I don't see it expanding unless it expands into the garden area, the landscape area. It can't. So if your idea is that it does, where would that be? Into the patio portion of on the opposite side of the substation? In other words, where would it go if it's not there called that? Or is it the name calling that Founders, because you may want to use that name somewhere else?
If it's the term square that bothers you, I don't have any problem with that.
Yeah.
If we want to find a synonym that's not quite so square.
Well, I'm
that'd
looking
be
right
okay.
now, and there really aren't very many substitutes.
really
I mean,
think we're
it's
splitting
just,
hairs.
and that's what I said earlier, is this, I don't want to split hairs on it, but it just needs, I don't want I want it to be appropriately designated and have a nice, clever name, and I'm just, this isn't my thing. I don't have that ability. I rely on other talent to do that, and so if we can come up with another, synonym that would work, I'd be happy with that, and I'm just I'm looking for, again, just the opportunity that there are some clever folks out there that have some great ideas on this, I'm sure.
I tell
We
you
could
what.
do Founders Cuboid.
Just stop it. I've learned
There
to
aren't a lot.
depend on Mayor Pro Tem Edwards when it comes to things related to design. Okay, she tends to do pretty good in that regard. I'm okay with square. We can revisit it when it comes back. Are we cool with that?
Here's
What?
the suggestion.
Go ahead.
Let's agree to name it Founders something.
Okay.
And let's charge staff and the commission with coming back. Since we can't, maybe you guys can.
All right.
And then if we don't like that, we can open it up again.
It will be beautiful, tasteful, and I promise it will properly reflect the dignity and the joy that Jimmy exuded about Temecula.
All right. I'm
Promise.
And if it ends up being square, so be it, because I don't connote the shape with the term. So unless, whatever, we can go on and on. Okay.
I think we killed it.
Yeah, I think we killed it. Listen,
question.
Dollars to Donuts, Peg's at home watching. Peg, we love you. We love Jimmy. And looks like we have direction here. Let's make sure this happens as swiftly as possible,
Peg will be a
okay?
big part of this.
Oh, yeah. Yes, of course.
Huge part of the planning. Huge.
Okay. Are we clear with the motion? Councilmember McCracken,
I'm
you
sorry,
wanted to say something?
one final question. I love the idea of naming it Founder something, representing Peg, Jimmy, and also, in my opinion, the rest of the original council. But I still think we should create something that we have the pen for the Cub Scouts when they get the Eagle Scout things. So I think we should create something, whether it be a medal or a plaque, something for citizens to go above and beyond. Well, we have citizens who
Like that.
go to they win the gold medals and stuff like that. So
We actually do have that, and we do have a mayor's medal. We did that a few years ago. I remember.
Vietnam, returning Vietnam veterans.
We did that, and we did that with, oh, geez, I don't want to forget his name, the gentleman, it's right on the tip of my tongue, who did the organ donation, the comedian.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Come on, oh, it's right on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah.
Oh, it's on my.
Tim Sweeney.
Tim Sweeney, thank you, yeah, and, for his efforts in organ donation and dying like a champion, if you can use that term, because he brought so much encouragement to everybody. So there's a medal program already in place, but good thought.
Aye, sir.
So can we have a reiteration of this motion, and so we can move on to the next agenda item?
The motion is to create a commemorative plaque to be installed in some way that staff will work with the commission on determining at the location we've identified in front of City Hall, and it will be called Founders, something to be determined.
That's the motion. Do we have a second? Are you clear, staff? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you can, do you want us to register that electronically, Madam City Clerk, or do you just want a voice vote? Electronically it will be. Jeff Comachero. Marianne Edwards.
We're caught up now.
Got it.
Okay, 5-0. That passes. Next agenda item. Let's see. I lost my place after all this. Consider implementation of Blue Ribbon Campaign to show community appreciation for the Temecula Police Department at the request of yours truly, Mike Nagar. Can we
Good
have that
evening.
staff report?
Good evening, Mayor Nagar and City Council. I'm Betsy Lowry, still Senior Management Analyst for the City Manager's Office. As you may recall, at the last City Council meeting, a few citizens approached the dais with an idea for the city to launch a Blue Ribbon Campaign as a gesture to show public appreciation for the men and women of our Temecula Police Force. Specifically, those citizens, a few of us are with us today, including one in a Superman t-shirt over here, are the admins for a very active social media group on Facebook called Temecula Talk, with over 36,000 members who live in and around Temecula. The Temecula Police Department, through its dedicated and proactive service to the citizens of City of Temecula, have established themselves as a family-friendly but tough-on-crime reputation, continues to preserve safe neighborhoods in Temecula with superior public safety services for our residents, visitors, and businesses. Over the past decade, the city has maintained the highest rankings nationwide in terms of public safety by consistently being named each year as one of the safest cities in the United States per FBI statistics. The city and citizens of Temecula recognize and respect the responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices that our law enforcement make each day at the risk of their own personal safety to safeguard Temecula's citizens' lives and property. At the request of our mayor, the concept of a Blue Ribbon Campaign to show appreciation for our Temecula Police Department has been brought back to the City Council for approval. The concept is very simple and has been done in many cities and towns across the United States over the last few years. In fact, if you Google Blue Ribbons Police Appreciation, you'll see many images of Blue Ribbon campaigns in support of police departments in countless cities, towns, and counties, primarily in 2015 and 16. Very simply, a Blue Ribbon campaign would be the community display of ribbons in support of Temecula Police Department. And staff recommends the following for your consideration. the city to host a Blue Ribbon Campaign kickoff event in the city town square.
Don't watch yourself
Sorry.
now.
Let me change that.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
With an accompanying road closure on Saturday, on a Saturday in September, either September 3rd or September 17th, depending on schedules and groups of organizations that we can plan to gather to get there and make this happen. And that's where we will lead the campaign as the city with lampposts in town in that area within the city hall. Quad adorned with oversized blue tie ribbons that will remain there until our annual winter festivities, our holiday, so about 2 months. The city would also provide blue ribbons to citizens and businesses while supplies last to prominently tie to their residences or their businesses citywide. Staff would work with police department, Temecula Talk, of course, and other interested groups. Our local police officers' spouses group called Spouses Support Group serving Riverside County Sheriff's Department. They've already shown interest, and we'll reach out to nonprofit organizations, our chamber, to best plan and promote community-based ribbon campaign in support of our Temecula Police Department to be kicked off on a Saturday in September.
Thank you. Are there any questions of staff right now? Okay, seeing no questions. Karen, do you mind coming up real quick and bringing that young man with you? Young man, you are just so patient. And I got to know, I'm going to put you on the spot, but you are just one patient, patient young man sitting here all night.
And then, Mr. Mayor, we also have one public comment.
Oh, we do? Okay, we'll get to it. Young man, pull that microphone close to you. What's your name?
Joshua.
Joshua, is that your mama with you? Okay, I just wanted to thank you. You've been sitting here so quiet and so polite and so patient. Thank you, Joshua. Mom, Karen, is this what you had in mind when you brought this to me a few weeks ago?
100%.
100%?
Yes.
Okay, is Temecula Talk gonna involve itself in getting the word out?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, very good. I do have a quick question for Chief Kubel. Chief Kubel, do you mind coming forward?
Chief front and center.
Chief, we never want to interfere with the police department and the work that they do. We don't want to distract them, but we certainly want to show how much we care about them and are thankful for them. Is this an appropriate thing to do?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be well received by the officers. I think it'd be great.
Okay, very good. I don't have any more questions for you folks. Do you guys have any questions for these two at all?
I love this idea.
Thank you very much, and good job, Karen. Madam City Clerk, can you call the first and only speaker?
Mr. Mayor, the first and only speaker is Wayne Hall.
Thank you. Wayne, it's been a while. We won't hold it against you, but where have you been?
Well, my golden years have caught up to me. I miss this building. Very proud of this building. Somebody was criticizing it a couple weeks ago, and I kind of thought, there's somebody who needs a little check done on them. This is a beautiful building, and I don't care what anybody says, and it's very proudful to be here in Temecula. Okay, I'll say it again. I'm so old, I was born here. I was born in Riverside, California, because my mother was a baby catcher here. Can't catch your own kid. When you needed law enforcement, you called INS. You didn't call sheriff. Sheriff took 2, 3, 4 days, if you were lucky. You know, I sit outside a lot, play my silly music, and I listen to the Harley Davidsons going down the freeway. But I hear a lot of sirens. You get to the point where you can recognize them. I know what an ambulance siren sounds like, and I know what our boys in blue, our fire people, I know exactly what theirs is. And I hear our police officers. Little story a while back is that when I was still in the military, I was out raking my leaves and I noticed a staff car go by, and in the military, our chaplains wear a cross on their sleeve. Well, being an insensitive so-and-so like I am, I saw it and I thought, well, there's somebody going to get some bad news. I didn't realize my wife and my daughter was behind me. I lose my words, so bear with me. Anyway, I heard this slam. And of course, my daughter said a few choice words. She was in high school, so I forgive her. But she says, good going, Dad, because I just didn't realize that there's a home life. Firemen's wives, they were here tonight. Policemen's wives, families, military lives. I have to clear my throat. The point is, when I take my life in my hands when I was in the military, that's one thing, and we know about, what we've performed in the past, Chief, you know that too. But it's the families that are at home are wondering if their husbands are coming home tonight. We've got people up from Temecula, my understanding, is up in the fire right now.
Yes.
These people are the last people that get an attaboy. Time and time again, you see it on TV. Oh, these dirty, they're crooked or they're uncontrollable. My favorite is that sometimes, as you know, I run my mouth, and when I talk to some of the police officers, they'll tap their little cameras. It's supposed to tell me to keep it clean. But the point I want to make is, if you're in trouble at 2 o'clock in the morning, who do you call? You don't call Elsinore, you don't call Marietta. You call the fire department, you call the police department. They come out. If something's happening, they're not running away, they're running towards. And by God, it's time that we recognize these people. I think it's long overdue. I said my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Duane.
Okay, there's no more speakers, correct? I'll kick it off. I think staff's recommendation is a good one, but it's open to tweaking if anybody wants to tweak any of it.
No.
Why are you looking at me? I'm good. Don't worry about it.
Go ahead, Mr. Councilmember.
I'm good too. No, I just want to emphasize that the importance of involving the community in this. I know that's one of your roles, and we'll play a role in that as well. But I think these kinds of things are great when they come from us. But certificates are nice. But when you really get thousands of people in the community to get together and really demonstrate their love and respect for what these men and women do, I think that's when it's really effective and means something. So I think it's good. I like it.
I'll add to that. Maybe collectively as a council, maybe our commissions as well, keep these around, hand them out, give them to people. Say, would you like to support our police department? Again, I think this has got to be community driven, as you pointed out. That's the whole point. That's the whole point, is to get these blue ribbons out, because that's the way people feel. Anything on this side of the dais?
I'd like to share what happened at church yesterday with you and I, when we were talking out in front of church.
Right.
Mike and I were standing out in front of Rancho Community Church, where we worship every Sunday, and a very nice lady came up to us and handed us quite a large postcard, and it was dark blue on one side, and it had Rancho Community Church and talked about, the family at Rancho Community, and it really didn't say much else other than that, and the other side was totally blank. And she said, we've started a program where we're handing these out, and we want you to say something really nice, say something about our police officers, express your support and your appreciation, and we're going to gather all these up and take them to City Hall and present them to our police officers. And she didn't know who Mike and I were. And we took them and said, thank you. And I said, well, this is great, because we're going to be talking about this, or Mike said we're going to be talking about this at our council meeting on Tuesday. And I said to her, I'd like you to meet Mayor Mike Nagar. And he said, and I'd like you to meet Vice Mayor Mary Ann Edwards. And she was stunned. So these types of things are being done in the community already, because Temecula residents really do appreciate our police officers, Chief Kubel. And this gives everyone a chance to do something this simple. And that's why I like it, because it's very, very simple, and it's a great way to express our appreciation. And not only do you get to do it with your clothing and your car and your house, but you can put up a blue ribbon almost anywhere, as long as you're not trespassing or violating some other type of law. And I love the idea. So don't be surprised if we get hundreds, if not thousands, of cards from the people at Rancho Community Church as well. And I am going to promote this program down there, and they will love being part of it.
Councilmember McCracken.
Yes, real short and to the point. A few years ago, Chief Cobo, the city of Temecula invited me and some fellow chiefs and sailors down to the parade. We were in uniform, riding around the parade, and a lot of my junior sailors had never been to a city like this who shows appreciation like they do. As we came around the corner, the round of applause was thunderous. And they looked at me and they said, are they clapping for us? I'm like, yeah, because this is how they show the support for you. So I just want to say, as a man who used to wear a uniform, the uniform stands out. They don't see the individual, they see the uniform. So as we do this blue ribbon celebration, the citizens of Temecula, your police officers in uniform and also in civilian clothes, this is the way we show we appreciate. We say it as a council all the time. So just stand by for the overwhelming reception and gratitude. So a lot of, I'm sure like police department, like the military, we do it because it's our job. We have a passion for it. We don't think it's something that we do for the recognition. So as a chief, I just maybe give some advice to kind of brief your guys and girls when this does happen, just smile. We know you do it because you love, you have a passion for it, but this is how citizens are going to show their appreciation for it. So it's a tremendous experience and something I never forget, and it's something that's past due. And whether it's done or not, just know that we think this way all the time. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? With that, I'll move the item.
Second.
Mayor Nagar on the motion, second on Councilmember Comachero. That passes. 5-0. Oh, wait a minute.
Well, if you vote no, it still passes, so it doesn't.
Councilmember Edwards, we will make sure that it is a unanimous vote.
Okay, you
in the
got
minutes.
it. All right. Nice catch. Okay, all right. Okay, we're down to our last agenda item, item 17, adopt an ordinance amending section 10.16.200 of the Temecula Municipal Code prohibiting the parking of vehicles under certain conditions at parking lots owned or controlled by the city of Temecula. Can we have a staff report?
Honorable Mayor and Council, before you tonight is a modification to the city's parking ordinance, which will allow enforcement at city-owned parking and leased spots. Currently, any restrictions placed on parking facility must be done via change to the ordinance with the requisite waiting period before the ordinance takes effect. The changes proposed will modify the ordinance to allow the City Council to establish parking restrictions via resolution, which can take effect immediately. The changes also designate the authority for enforcement and procedures for removal of vehicles violating parking restrictions. Included in this resolution are the establishment of parking restrictions at 2 parking lots. The first is at the History Museum. The second is at the Mary Phillips Senior Center. These 2 parking lots were included in this ordinance as there have been numerous complaints that the limited number of parking spaces are being taken up by long-term parking by those who are not using the facilities. Including these 2 sites will allow the parking restrictions to become effective when the ordinance takes effect rather than having to come back with additional resolution. Future sites can be added to the list of the city-owned parking facilities, and I believe we have a video of that list. There we go, which is being shown. If the city's council so chooses, parking restrictions can be placed on any of these sites via resolution at a later date. One notable exception is the parking facility at First and Front Streets, which is covered under a separate parking agreement. This facility is intentionally excluded from this ordinance due to the provisions contained within that agreement. With that, staff recommends adoption of the modified parking ordinance, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff right now? I don't see any questions. Madam City Clerk, are there any requests to speak? I don't see any requests to speak, so I will I will move the item and ask the city attorney to introduce the ordinance.
Second.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Temecula amending Section 10.16.200 of the Temecula Municipal Code, prohibiting the parking of vehicles under certain conditions at parking lots owned or controlled by the city.
Thank you. Please cast your vote. That item passes 5-0. Let's go to Traffic Commissioner Hagel. Anything to report tonight?
Nothing.
Thank you. Community Services Commissioner Schwank.
Nothing tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And we save the best for last. Planning Commissioner Gario. Anything tonight?
I do have nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. City Manager, do you have anything to report?
Further.
Nothing. There you go. Mr. City Attorney, tell us something.
We had two closed session items. The council gave us direction on those, but there's no action to report under the Brown Act.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to that portion of the evening where it's time to say goodnight. And so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting. What are you laughing at?
It just came a little quick.
Okay, fair enough. We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem. Who wants to second it? Dr. Ron seconds the motion.
Absolutely.
It still works.
Oh, good night, everybody. We are adjourned.
Time is up.
We found this.